She's from the great state of Texas, representing Texas here in the United States Senate. She also, along with Senator John Kerry, Senator Mark Warner, introduced the BUILD Act. She's the ranking member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, member of the Committee on Appropriations, Committee on Rules. These are the power posts in the Senate. You know, you sort of, have the power posts and the sort of folks that are vanity posts, I suppose, but these are the power posts. When I worked for Jeff Bingaman in the United States Senate in 1996, after I left the Nixon Center, I went to a Semiconductor Industry Association dinner in 1996, and Senator Hutchison received an award from the Semiconductor Industry Association. And she came in and talked about competitiveness, Texas, what was going on with the semiconductor industry, how important it was to put all the pieces together when it came to partnering with the state, with universities. I worked with Bob Gates a bit when he was head of Texas A&M University, and we're thinking about these questions. Senator Hutchison has been thinking for a long time about competitiveness, what the right kinds of inputs to a state should be, and how to get the larger equation right. And I think it's been very important to note her leadership with this BUILD Act proposal. I want to thank very much. Please, a warm round of applause for Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for holding this. Bernie, it's great to see you, and I know you were an instigator of this. I want to thank all of you. You've had a lot of sitting and listening today, and I'm very pleased that you're taking the opportunity to do it, and I hope that you're not just fatigued from sitting. But let me first of all say thank you to Bernie for having this vision for a very long time. I took the opportunity when I was in New York to have breakfast and really pick Bernie's brain about how we should make sure that our structure was right. I also have consulted my friend Phil Graham, who now works in New York a lot, but he too gave me some very good suggestions on making sure that we set it up right, because I do think that success or failure of a national infrastructure bank is going to be determined by whether we have the right setup, the right governance, the right financial expertise, the ability to do the leveraging in the exact correct way. But Steve, when you said I've been at this a long time, actually a really long time, because in 1993, when I was state treasurer of Texas, President George H.W. Bush had a commission to promote investment in America's infrastructure, appointed me as a state treasurer to that commission, and we actually recommended a new financing option for large infrastructure projects, including establishing a new federally chartered financial entity, a National Infrastructure Corporation. That was 1993. That was over 20 years ago, obviously, getting on 30, and now we are still working on it. And we have not been able to do it, I think, and the infrastructure gap has widened further. So I will applaud my sponsor of the bill, Senator Kerry, from whom you heard earlier today, and say that this is really his passion, and I respect him very much, because when he started with his bill, it was not the same bill that it is today. And he was willing to work with me, and there was a lot of compromise back and forth, because I feel that one of the keys to this being done right and being accepted, I think by all the factions, or most of the factions in our Congress, would mean that we have to make it a real bank. We have to leverage private investment, and the whole point, of course, is to have more private investment with our infrastructure gap in this country, but also that we would not have grants as a part of it. Because if you start having grants, in my opinion, then you're getting into really a whole different arena where there are winners and losers based not on quality always, but subjective criteria. And I feel that objective criteria, including a revenue stream, is the way to assure that there is quality, that there is going to be a revenue stream for payback, and therefore the project is going to stand on its own because it will be a good enough project to attract that private sector funding. And Senator Kerry worked with me on that. That was not in his original plan, but he did work with me, and I really appreciate it. We differ from President Obama's infrastructure bank in that his is only transportation and ours includes energy and water, because if there's anything neglected in this country, it is the next generation of energy infrastructure, as well as the many needs for water in our country. The water needs are going to be not only very expensive, but very creative. I will just give you an example of one that is very creative and is working extremely well, and that is a new desalination plant. It's the largest inland desalination plant in the world in El Paso, Texas. And Fort Bliss is one of our largest Army bases, but the water shortage was beginning to be a problem for the U.S. Army to expand there. So very creative engineers, along with the U.S. Army, put together a desalination plant where they built an infrastructure that goes down a mile to get water in a very dry part of our country. And it is now producing hundreds of thousands of gallons of clean water for the city of El Paso as well as for Fort Bliss. That couldn't have been done without a lot of creativity and infrastructure money, because it was very expensive in the beginning. It's actually now much cheaper because the water availability is there, but a place that is as far inland as El Paso would have had an impossible time to get clean water without this kind of investment. Those are the kinds of things where I think partnerships can really make a difference, and I think this opens up, our bill opens up the possibilities for more in the future. Another difference from ours, from President Obama's, is that it doesn't have grants, which President Obama's does. The administration one is a $30 billion investment, whereas ours is $10 billion, but it is going to be a revolving loan account. So hopefully we will be able to have repayments and replenish the account so that it is ongoing. And I think seeing how that can work and making it self-sustaining is going to be one of the chief good talking points that we have for ours. Also, one of the limits that I think makes ours effective is that the infrastructure bank will never provide more than half of a project's cost. So again, you are going to provide a long-term financing capability, but you're going to assure that there is a private sector or a government, local or state government investment that also assures the quality of the product, and so that the chances of it being paid back are very good. I think that another factor of our bill that's important is that because we're going to open up private sector, we're going to open up building of infrastructure, it should certainly be a factor in creating more economic activity in our country, which means jobs. And of course that's a long term, but certainly we think that is an important part of it. We have a Texas model that made me want to support and be a part of this bill, and that is a state infrastructure bank that is much the same concept. It is for transportation only, but it also, on a smaller scale, does leverage private and local funding, and so the concept is very similar, and one that I think we can also use to show that this can be successful. So I just am very pleased that there are this many of you interested in this kind of opportunity. I was very pleased that Governor Engler also has been supportive of this, because he, as a governor in Michigan, knew of the needs, and also from the private sector in the organization that he runs now can see what an important investment this will be for economic activity in our country. I really want to thank once again John Kerry for going forward with a bold move and working with me to gain my co-sponsorship, and I think that the two of us have come together to make a very strong bill that should really be able to get bipartisan support even in this very tough economic atmosphere. And the fact that it's a $10 billion investment, I think, is modest. The fact that it's going to be a revolving account, and we're looking for offsets so that it won't have any cost whatsoever if we can possibly find the $10 billion in offsets, and Senator Kerry and I have agreed to work on that as well. So Bernie Schwartz, thanks a million for calling this convocation and for supporting it as you have from the beginning. I learned a lot from you at our breakfast and look forward to many more times. Thank you very much.
Senator Hutchison, thank you so much. On behalf of the Atlantic, thank you so much for doing today's program. I want to thank everyone. I would like to, because it's our nature in the media business, to pose one question, if I may. I wanted to mention that Senator Lindsey Graham is also a Republican colleague of yours who has helped introduce this bill, and that leads me to my single question we'll have before we'll adjourn today's program, and that is, how high, if at all, a hill do you face collectively within the Senate on this bill? How do you think, after you've crafted this, thought of this, come to negotiate with John Kerry about what the contours of the bill? What is your gut about the likelihood that other members will say, wow, we really do need some mechanism for investment? Do you have other believers in your caucus?
Well, Steve, I think that this is going to be a hill, but a hill that we need to climb, and it's in this area, but it's also in the area of research. It is the things that you don't see as the very most immediate needs, and it is things that will take an investment in order to get the return. And I think there are a good number of people on both sides of the aisle who do see the need for building for the future, infrastructure, research into science and technology. We can't sit in America because the economy's bad. We have to prioritize the spending that we do wisely, and the priorities should be investing in our seed corn, and that is both infrastructure and academic research. As all of you know, America is not the major manufacturing base that it used to be. We have kept the vibrant economy in the world, in the global marketplace, through creativity and through being ahead of the curve of what is going to be next in either need or want in our society. And if we are going to keep that edge, since we don't have a manufacturing edge, and that's not our strong suit, we must invest in what will keep us economically strong so that we will be able to continue to be vibrant. And I would say this is a hill to climb, but it is one that we've got to really, really work, and that's where many of you in the audience will be helpful, and that is to focus on the pointing out to our elected leaders the need for these kinds of investments. When you talk about we have hundreds of billions of dollars of unmet infrastructure needs, that kind of goes over people's heads. But if you talk about the specifics in a different area, like losing Fort Bliss from El Paso, Texas, because we didn't have the water infrastructure, or it could be an electric grid, or it could be the windmills for wind power or solar power panels for investment. If you talk about those specifics, people can see that you have to make certain investments in order to get the cheap, clean energy. And so we've got to keep selling that. And I think with this kind of interest, we can.
Great. Senator Hutchison, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Senator.